everyone. So today we have a special guest. And right now we're just waiting for him to join. Let's see. I'm gonna send him a request. There he is. So we're about to get started, guys. There you go.
Hello.
Hi, Dr. Triggs. How are you?
I'm good. Just wrapping up the day. Let me clean this camera screen. Sorry. I was foggy or something. All right, bet.
There we go.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, I just wrapped up for the day.
Thank you so much for joining us. I know that you're super busy today.
It's Tuesday, so it's like I have a lot of patients that travel in, so Tuesday is like the beginning of the week for me. Mondays are usually a little bit slower, but we're here today. I'm happy to be here though, for sure.
Yeah, we're happy to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, okay, so I know we're gonna go ahead and get started.
Okay.
Today, what you said?
I said okay.
Okay, guys, so my name is Brooke Taylor, and today I'm introducing Dr. Wilton Triggs, a distinguished and visionary plastic surgeon based in Miami. With an illustrious career, he has become a leading authority in aesthetic enhancement, admired for his transformative procedures and exceptional skills. Dr. Triggs' expertise extends beyond popular surgeries like Brazilian butt lifts and mommy makeovers. He continually seeks the latest advancements and techniques to provide each patient with a custom fit experience. Combining surgical prowess with artistic finesse, he empowers individuals to embrace their true selves, fostering self-discovery and lasting confidence. Dr. Triggs' genuine warmth and compassion have earned him the admiration of peers and gratitude from his patients, making each visit more than a transactional experience, but a journey of empowerment and self-love. Let us celebrate the brilliance of this trailblazer in plastic surgery, Dr. Wilton Triggs, whose passion for transforming lives shapes the future of aesthetic medicine. Welcome, Dr. Triggs.
I appreciate that. That was too kind, but I will take all of it. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here for sure.
They love you.
I don't know about all that.
Okay. So, I'm going to try not to get distracted by the comments, but Dr. Triggs, can you share some of the most groundbreaking advancements in aesthetic enhancement that you've incorporated into your practice to provide patients with individualistic experiences?
So I think probably the most like cutting edge things I do are like using mesh with breasts to try to decrease the amount of scars you need for breast lifts. It's expensive though, like just the mesh in itself is almost the price of the whole surgery, but I don't have a lot of patients that jump on it just because of the price point, but I think if you're trying to reduce the scar burden and also like give your breasts like a more long lasting lift, then using like Galaflex or mesh with breast surgery has been helping a lot. A lot of plastic surgeons in South Florida use it. I heard about it back when I was in training. We didn't have any attendings that were using it at the time outside of reconstructing purposes, but I would say that's probably the most cutting edge thing. I guess like with BBL, I do use ultrasound. It's mandated here in Florida now as of July 1st, but it's like the safest way to do a Brazilian butt lift. It just basically shows you exactly what plane you're in when you're injecting fat. And so I would say that's probably two of the most more cutting edge things that I use in my practice.
And when you say you use mesh for during breast lift, how's that different than like the usual thing?
So normally when you do a mastopexy or a breast lift, you really don't have to use mesh. You rely on your own tissues. But if you want to reinforce it to like long lasting hold, or basically like have your results last longer, you can use mesh. And it also works well with people that's had repeat breast lifts with implants. So you're able to like have like maybe like a heavier implant, and you're not putting so much weight on the tissue. And so that mesh helps support it.
Okay, thank you.
No
So
problem.
as a leading authority in plastic surgery, how do you approach the delicate balance between enhancing natural beauty and ensuring patients' unique characteristics remain preserved?
So really, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. So I think a lot of patients choose me because I'm more on the natural side versus like some Miami plastic surgeons that kind of like go for a more exaggerated look. Like I can do those looks, but most of my patients are, teachers and, other professionals, nurses and stuff like that. They want to like, have something going on, but they don't want to be a distraction or be gawked at. And so, I'm like, all right, say less. So, we'll keep it more on the natural side, but at the same time, give you something, that you're proud of. And so for me, I think that's like the most well balanced thing. Because I feel like sometimes if you go too exaggerated, one, we don't know how long those tissues are going to hold up. And I'm speaking more for like breast and buttocks. So if you're putting in a lot of fat, at some point it's going to drop. It's going to stretch the skin. And then with the breast, same thing. At some point, those implants are going to become heavy, and it's going to drop the breast or cause neck, back, and shoulder pain. So I think just finding like a fine balance of what they want, and thinking long term at the same time, and not just worried about how they're going to look for the first 2 or 3 years, but to decrease their need for revision down the line.
How long before someone can get back into the gym after having a procedure done?
So it depends. Routinely, it's about 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks. For BBL, if they're on the skinnier side, and they don't have a lot of fat, because the body will reabsorb a lot of that fat, usually 30 to 40%, and then in the hips, a little bit higher than that. So I tell them to feed the fat and kind of lay off the gym if they can, at least for about 6 to 8 weeks. For a tummy tuck or a breast augmentation or a breast lift, usually about 6 to 8 weeks. Really, we're just looking for the incisions to scar over, so nothing will be hurt from the surgery. Liposuction is a little bit faster, usually about 3 or 4 weeks. You usually have some swelling that happens, as you start getting back into your routine, but the body will take care of that. It'll dissipate over time. So usually about 6 to 8 weeks though.
So many patients seek plastic surgery to improve their self-confidence and self-esteem. Could you share some success stories of patients whose lives were positively transformed after undergoing aesthetic procedures?
Yeah, so I've had a few patients post on Instagram about how, their self-confidence wasn't there, or if it was there, they felt like, after undergoing the procedure, they felt like that their inner beauty showed more now. And so they were a lot happier. So they were like, oh, the people can see like my true inner beauty. And they just feel more self-confident. And if you're more self-confident, you kind of walk around with an air to yourself. So you do well when you're networking, you do well when you're doing a lot of public speaking, or you just do well, like, interacting with people. And so I've had a few patients, and I know probably one of my biggest patients is Lily. I repost her a lot on my page, and she's like, written it out and done interviews and talked about this multiple times, how just trust the process. And, it really was life-changing for her. And so, you love to hear it. Cause, for me, it's like, I'm just trying to meet their expectations, be safe, and, do a good job. I don't really think, as much into like, oh, this person's gonna, change the world because their confidence is going to be restored, anything like that. Because usually when I talk to my patients, they're not really talking about that. It's more of like on the physical part. So I don't hear about the mental awareness of it until after the surgery. And so, and it's always like a added bonus to hear that.
And how does it make you feel knowing that people wake up feeling so much more confident, so much more happier? How does that make you feel?
It's kind of hard to believe, because you really don't, I mean, at least for me, it's like you really don't think about it in that regard. And so, when you hear that, I mean, it gives you like a little bit of an ego boost, like, oh man, I really helped them out. Because I work in aesthetics. I'm not a cardiologist. I'm not a neurosurgeon. I'm not doing something where, for the most part, you're saving somebody's life. And so when you get that, to me, that is as close to me as like, being like one of the other specialties when it comes to saving a life that I can get to as an aesthetic surgeon.
That's nice. So, in your experience, how do you address the concerns of patients who fear that plastic surgery might lead to an unnatural or overdone appearance?
Yeah, I think, with the media, because I feel like with the media, you don't see that as often. You of course you'll see some botched surgeries or something that's over dramatic from time to time, but I don't feel like it's as common as, what's, more natural or more, acceptable to the general population. So, I think the media blows that out of proportion, especially with social media. So everything's so accessible. And I'll say, like, a lot of BBLs, in the beginning, they're huge because we overcompensate knowing that we're going to lose about 30 to 40% of that fat. So usually when you see these videos on social media, like women like flying back home and stuff like that, like, whoa, that's too much. That's too huge. Mm-hmm. Well, in 3 to 4 months, that's going to be almost half the size and it's going to fit her frame perfectly. So, sometimes you got to put things in context, but I think, talking to the surgeon, looking at their before and afters, that's the best way that you can kind of allay someone's worries and like being too dramatic and, just talking to them and and trying to figure out their expectations is probably the best thing you can do to help with someone like that.
Gotcha. So Mike, I have another question in regards to the fat. So you said that you can look for about 30 to 40% of fat reduction. So if someone were to do like a lot of cardio, would that also cause the fat to decrease?
Oh yeah, it would definitely burn it for sure. If you've had any type of like bariatric surgery, that can cause the fat to decrease. I've had people that had like, too large a BBL, like they had like 2 or 3 rounds, meaning 2 or 3 BBLs, and they wanted to get like a reduction, and so they actually got bariatric surgery, and they lost, the fat in their butt, because of that bariatric surgery. And so, anything that's going to affect the fat cells.
It skipped out a little bit at fat cells.
Oh, yeah, I was just saying anything that can affect the fat cells, whether that's diet or exercise or bariatric surgery or certain medications, will definitely affect your fat transfer or BBL. And that goes for if you were to do fat transfer to the breast or fat transfer to the face, anything that's going to affect fat cells, it'll definitely affect those results.
Got it. So obviously plastic surgery is often associated with physical transformations, but could you speak on its impact on mental and emotional well-being, as well as the sense of empowerment that it can provide individuals?
Yes. So, I mean, I've had a few patients where like their self-confidence was like increased dramatically. I mean, they'll tell you, like, I'll see them in post-op and they're just so happy with their result because to them, it's like now they can look in the mirror and see the good part of them that they've already knew was already in there, but now everybody else can see it. And and like I said, to me, it still shocks me when I hear stuff like that because, like I said, I don't go into it thinking like that from a mental aspect. Mm-hmm. And so, like, to me as an aesthetic surgeon, it's like the closest thing I can do as far as like saving a life is like to bring someone self-esteem higher or make them feel better about themselves, to be an even more productive member of society, or just to be an even better person.
Yes. And that's always really nice. So my next question is, your captivating video preview, Triggerfied, has been widely anticipated and it has now dropped today. Yeah. What inspired you to use social media as a platform to showcase your trailblazing impact in the field of plastic surgery?
So you have to adapt with the times. And so when I was in residency, a lot of our attendings, real old school, they weren't really big on social media. And even the residents were on social media, but I don't think a lot of them knew the impact it was going to have. Like I knew, like I was like, yeah, this is big. Like this is going to be a thing. And really, it didn't get popularized till like Dr. Miami. He's basically the person that put social media on the map in terms of plastic surgery. That's why he owns that market and so well known, because he was doing it before anybody else. And so I saw that. And so for me, like I started a separate account, probably going into my 5th year, because I just finished the hardest year in our program. And I started like taking pictures at conferences, like really promoting plastic surgery stuff. But at the same time, I also had to be HIPAA compliant, making sure I wasn't like identifying any patients. I just kept it more on me. Like if I was studying for my in-service exam, that's what I was showing. If I was going to conferences, if I was writing a paper. And so I was doing things like that to really just, show that plastic surgery was just more than aesthetics. And so, as soon as I started working, I flipped all that. I still show those kind of things, but now, I've grown my audience to where now I can put out before and afters, of course, with my patient's permission. I can show, what I can do. I can do like little short skits to make things funny, to make myself seem more relatable. Because that was my biggest critique when I was in residency, trying to build my following, talking to other influencers, whether they were nurses or the doctors, like, yeah, it's too cut and dry, it's too regimented. And so it's like, you need to show more of your personality. You need to show more of your personal life. And I'm a really private person, like super private. And so that was hard for me. So I've done it like incrementally. And so now, like I'm a little bit more open, not a lot, I'm able to do a lot more like fun things. And with the whole Trigify thing, I was going in to mark a patient. And Akil was like, I wrote this song, I want you to hear it. I was like, oh, I get a lot of patients that say things like that. Like, I did this, I did that. I was like, oh, well, just, shoot it to me in the DMs. Mm-hmm. And so, the next day she was in post-op and she sent me the song and I listened to it. I was like, it's kind of a bop, you know what I'm saying? So I let like a lot of my friends listen to it because I don't want to be biased because it just had my name in there and I liked it because of my name. And so I let a lot of my friends listen to it, and they're like, yo, and some of them like, dabble in the music, and they're like, you should do something with this. And so I went to my social media manager, Gloria, and I was like, yeah, man, we can do like a TikTok challenge. She was like, oh, we can shoot a music video. And so I was like, all right. So I sent their Kia's information, and they were down, and a few months later, we were shooting it on a Sunday. It was an all-day thing. It was a lot of fun, though. I mean, it was tiresome, but it was a lot of fun. And, I literally just posted it like maybe right before we got on this live. So it was a lot of fun to do for sure.
Well, women are excited because they're in Miami getting Trigified.
That's right. Trying to get them right out here.
Yes. So I had a question about, in terms of HIPAA. So a patient, in order to show their results, do they have to sign like contracts saying that they agree with being shown?
Exactly. Like sometimes they'll have like different like check boxes. Like one will be like, oh, you can have my pictures to be shown in public, like on websites and stuff like that. Sometimes they'll just check the box saying for educational purposes, and that's more of like showing another patient, but not necessarily on media or anything like that. Or you can use these pictures for like conferences and stuff like that. And then some people will just decline entirely. And so when you're kind of like starting off, sometimes it can be hard to get these photos to be able to show other patients like, hey, I can do this. This is what I can do. So, sometimes it's a struggle. And then pictures that you use in residency to, patients of yours that you might have done with attending, you can't necessarily say those are your patients. Those are your attending patients. So that makes it a little harder too, to kind of like publicize yourself when you're getting started, as a young plastic surgeon. So people just have to almost like blindly trust you. And a lot of those patients become really special because, you took a chance on me when you have no evidence of how good I was, So.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So beyond physical changes, how do you ensure that your patients have realistic expectations and a healthy mindset before undergoing plastic surgery?
That's a really good question, because there's some women, and I mostly operate on women that have like unrealistic expectations. So I have to kind of like knock them down, like, no, we can't do all that. This is what we're shooting for. And, you know, sometimes I have to, if they can't truly comprehend, you know, what's going on with the surgery and the expectations, I may have to reschedule them versus just cancel them because, you know, anything I do is not going to meet their expectation. And next thing you know, I'm gonna be dealing with bad reviews and, you know, issues like that. And I don't want to deal with that. So they have to, you know, have a, you know, a good understanding of what we're doing today because, you know, my part is only one part. The post-op sometimes is more rough than the actual surgery, you know, wearing your compression garments, getting lymphatic massages, all these different things. And if I feel like you don't have a good grasp of that, your results not going to do well. And then, you know, you're a walking advertisement for me because they're going to be like, oh, who did your body, you know? And so I think from an expectations point, you know, I'm just really honest with them. I'll tell them like, yeah, this is going to be improved pretty dramatically. This isn't going to be as good as you would want. It's probably going to require an additional round of liposuction or an additional surgery. And so I feel like if you're honest and just open with them and tell them what you're good at and what you're not good at or what you've seen or not seen, you know, that is probably the best. And of course, document, you know, in the op report and in their, you know, history of physical and things like that.
So whenever we talk about unrealistic expectations, what are like sometimes unrealistic, what are some things that are unrealistic? Do people like, what would be like an unrealistic expectation?
Right. So when you do a breast lift with implants, you really can't use a very big implant. So if you really don't have a lot of breast tissue, when we do the lift, we try to use an implant, but you can't go too big because there's too much stress on the incision and on the tissues. And so you have to sometimes use like a smaller implant. And then you can go back in about 3 months once all the scar tissue develops and put in a bigger implant to kind of give you a better look or that bigger size that you want. And so some women come in and be like, no, I want this look. I'm like, well, I can't do that because you're going to want, you know, wind up with your implant falling out, you know, something horrific. Another thing is like women that come in for, you know, a BBL or a Brazilian butt lift and they want like very dramatic hips, but they don't have any hips. They're like scalloped in. And so I got to fill them out to be like this. A lot of times that skin is so tight, it's not going to allow me to put a lot of fat in there to like round those hips out. So I'm like, oh, you're gonna need multiple rounds of liposuction to kind of, you know, stretch that skin out to get those hips like that. And a lot of times they don't want to hear that because, like, oh, I've seen you do a patient like that before. Well, your skin isn't as loose as that patient's. And so they were able to fill up a lot easier than how your hips going to be. So those are like two classic examples that I deal with literally every day when it comes to like unrealistic expectations.
That makes sense. So we know that you're super specialized in like all the mommy makeovers and the Brazilian butt lifts, but what are some other surgeries that you like doing or that you are pretty good at?
So I do a lot of good blepharoplasties. So I live skin removal for facial rejuvenation. I do really good Botox and fillers. I haven't done that in a while, but I used to do it all the time routinely, especially in residency. And when I started practicing in Ohio. I do a lot of like flap surgeries for skin cancer resections or facial trauma and things like that. So I've done a lot of those procedures too. I don't do them now, but I like a lot of those little procedures. Hand surgery, a lot of hand deformities and stuff like that. I do those surgeries as well. Wow. A lot of people don't think about.
Gotcha. But it's so much that actually goes into it than like, you know, what you see on the front end. It's a lot that goes into it.
Right.
In the back end. So recognizing that true perfection is a reflection of one's unique individuality and appreciating that every life experience plays a pivotal role in their personal growth and sense of identity. How do you empower patients to embrace their authentic selves and nurture their self-confidence following cosmetic procedures?
I think so. A lot of times it's on them. They'll come in and be like, you know, I was thinking about getting a BBL, but I'm just going to stick with the liposuction. I feel more comfortable with that, which I'm totally fine with. And I'll tell them what the liposuction will do for them versus what a BBL will do for them. And they're like, I just want to jump start because I want to get in the gym and get more healthy. And I think that's probably like one of the best things I like to hear from a patient because that's usually, they wind up usually having a great result, usually like within a year because they've dropped a little bit of extra fat, their skin tightened up tightens up well because they're building muscle at the same time after we've done the liposuction. So a lot of those patients, especially when they're just strictly lipo, and they're like, I just want to do this lipo so I can get a jump start on my body and just start, you know, living healthy. I don't want to do the weight loss surgery because I know I can do it. I just need a little push. And so to me, that's like that change from you know, that sedentary lifestyle to go into a healthier lifestyle of eating better, you know, diet and exercise, to me is like going to do them way more good than that liposuction that I just did on them is ever going to do. So like when I hear that, I'm totally for it. I'm like, yeah, we're going to do that. It's going to be fun. And they wound up having like a great result.
So it sounds to me that sometimes even visiting you can help expedite like the self-empowerment and self-love process, which is amazing.
Yes.
So Dr. Triggs, your warmth and compassion have been widely praised by patients. How do you create a supportive and empowering environment for your patients throughout their plastic surgery journey?
I think just because me and my patients and I are usually from a similar background, so I'm able to talk to them, you know, in a way to where they understand. My thing is that I preach especially to my parents. I'm like, you shouldn't leave the doctor's office asking questions. Like, you should get all your questions answered and you should understand exactly what they said. And so I try to do that. I try to be mindful, like if I'm talking fast, to slow down. I try to make sure before I walk out the room, do you have any questions? If you do and you can't think of them, write them down. I don't tell them to just, you know, remember and bring them out. I was like, write them down and bring them tomorrow because you're going to forget. And I think that helps out a lot. And also just being respectful of their time, their money that they've spent to get down there to see me. And, you know, I've just always like been really big on bedside manner and, you know, communicating with my patients. So, you know, sometimes, you know, I'll have a rough day, but I still try to like, all right, snap out of it, you know, slow down talking, make sure they understand, you know, it's like those core things to make sure that they are well informed and ready to go.
And I also think that that makes people a lot more comfortable, and like that's what honestly might increase like your patient basis, because I think people all want doctors who have a great bedside manner and really want the best for their health too.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So navigating the medical field can be demanding both personally and professionally. What strategies or habits have you developed over the years to maintain a healthy work-life balance while still achieving remarkable success in your career?
So that has been hard, like, because in medical school, I didn't party until like it was like after the block exams. Like I didn't really do much during the week, but study. When I got the residency, it was harder because I never had any free time. And so on the weekends where I was free, I didn't like go out a lot like a lot of my colleagues or travel a lot. I would just like sleep and like binge watch TV, which, you know, that's what I like to do. Now, like I work out routinely. I work out just like 6 out of 7 days a week. I haven't worked out in a week though, because I've been back and forth on vacation. So I work out religiously. I spend time with my family like every other weekend. And so those are things that keep me grounded. I have like good friends here in Miami that'll drag me out of the house when I really just want to lay there and watch Netflix. So it has really been a struggle, you know, throughout my journey. But I've gotten a lot better with it. And I think I'm a better overall person for that, just learning how to like balance. Because it is not easy, because you have a guilt, especially when any type of professional school, you're gonna have some type of guilt when you're like taking time for yourself instead of like studying or catching up on emails or working on a brief or something like that. So I don't feel like my struggle is any different from any other professional, you know, student or career, like versus nursing or anything like that. But you just get to a point where you have to do it. It's like you got to take a step back by chilling to jump 3 steps forward when you really putting the work in, because you're like relaxed and you can take in the information.
Gotcha. And do you feel like being like immersed in an environment that kind of promotes social media also creates kind of a balance too, like having to create content and all that stuff?
Right. Right. I feel like content creation is a job,
It
at least for me.
is a job.
So when I was in Ohio, that was my first job outside of residency. I was trying to like, put something together like every week or something like that. And I would stay after work, after clinic, and I would be like, all right, what am I gonna talk about? What am I gonna post about? And even now I'm struggling. Like I've posted like scarcely when I'm supposed to be posting like every other day. But it does keep me on my toes. It does help me study a little bit more because I'll look up to see if anything has changed with like certain guidelines and things like that. But it does help keep you on your toes because I know when I was studying for my written boards, the plan was to like start a YouTube like series on the different topics I was studying. But I never got around to it. But I developed like all these PowerPoints and stuff like that. But it helped me. It helped me learn. So I was trying to use social media as kind of like a guide at the same time, but I just started slacking. So it does help though.
Yeah. And so also, do you come up with all the ideas for your content, or do you have like a
No,
helper or social
I
media?
have a social media manager, Gloria, who's like the best. Like she came, like we did this Barbie one
Yeah.
right before the weekend. That was all her. A lot of the TikTok stuff, that's all her. I mean, she'll come up with all these ideas, and we'll film them all in one day. Like if I have a light day or like one or two cases, we'll knock them all out. But I'm like one of those people. Like she'll come looking for me, and I'll be trying to hide from her because I'm like, oh, I feel like doing this stuff today. And I was like, oh, I ain't got no haircut. Like I gotta film all this stuff. And so, but she's great. Like a lot of the stuff on my W Triggs MD page is mostly my stuff, but we work hand in hand. Like I'll send her stuff. I'm like, yo, we need to do something like this. Or she'll send me something. I'm like, oh, I didn't even think about that. We should definitely do that. So it works really well. The only thing she really gives me is because she always want me to do a lot of these dancing TikToks, and I hate doing that. So I'm like, Gloria, I'm not dancing today. But it's great, man. We have a great relationship, and she really gets me right and helps build the page.
And do you feel like having a social media has increased like the amount of patients that you would see rather than like not having it?
For sure. I think most of my marketing is through social media. Like I have like Facebook ads, Instagram ads, and stuff like that. But it's truly like Instagram. I mean, I'll give you a moment. I was in Target buying some snacks because my dad was coming to visit for the week, and it was like these New Yorkers, and you could tell because you could hear the accent, and they were visiting Miami for spring because it was our spring break time. And they were like, "Yo, are you that doctor that's on TikTok?" I was like, "Maybe," and they were like, "You a plastic surgeon?" I was like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Yo, it's truly arrived out here, like just randomly." I mean, I've been on vacations or in the airport, and people walk up to me, so it's crazy to get that. And usually I'm like with my cousins or somebody like that, and they're like, "Yo, man, you really out here now?" I was like, "I guess so." I never would have thought it. It's crazy though, but yeah, it's truly social media is like my number one marketing tool. Yeah.
Yeah. So as a minority doctor who has achieved great success in your career, how do you personally feel about the recent ruling on affirmative action and its potential impact on diversity and equal opportunities in the medical field?
I think it's definitely going to hurt us because I mean, we still haven't arrived. The numbers still don't say that we're comparable. Like med school matriculation rates are still low for African Americans, specifically African American males. Representation and residency is still low. And now with like really no booster, because even then, like a lot of schools weren't even using it, but we need something to, help get us through these doors because we're just as qualified or whatnot. They just don't get the looks. And so they're going to have to figure out something. I think it's probably going to be on school by school basis to try to figure something out. There's a lot of good programs, but the thing is, a lot of these programs aren't advertised to try to help, make sure that you are, seen or even noticed by other schools and things like that. So I think it's definitely going to take a step back in a lot of regards, especially in like law, medicine, and some of these other like, MBA programs and things like that.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I definitely do think like we have to do better with in terms of like diversity and everything. So we have a couple of questions here that have a couple of people have asked some questions. So one of the questions was, let's see if I can find it. Okay, someone said, can you be married and be a plastic surgeon? How do you maintain marital relationship?
Uh, well, I'm not married, but it definitely can be done because I mean, my attendings were married. One of my co-residents was married, so it can definitely be done. You just have to find that balance, and I think it's actually probably pretty good because you have someone that you can lean on when things get rough. You have someone that can, when you're stuck at the hospital or stuck in the clinic, that can help, make sure you're eating, make sure they're taking care of the household for you if they can, or just be there as an emotional support person. So just like any other career, it's definitely, I think it's definitely going to benefit you more than take away, for sure.
Thank you. So my last question for you, because I don't see any more questions in the comments, is in just a few words, tell me what springs to mind when you hear these powerful words. So I'm going to say a word and then you're going to tell me what springs to mind. So the first word is service.
So service to me means to like give back. And so I went to Meharry Medical College in Nashville, Tennessee. It is the motto is um, the worship of God through the service of mankind. And so that means a lot to me. And I'm really big on mentorship, especially young Black males, because I've been there to like not have those examples. And so I recently just started the Dr. Wilton Triggs Foundation that gives monies and supports to charities that deal with underrepresented males and youth for through education. And so to me, mentoring, I'm mentoring med students, mentored pre-meds, I've mentored other residents, to really, make it through this journey. And a lot of them weren't even going into plastic surgery. One neurosurgery, one family medicine, and things like that. So to me, that's what service means to me, is to give back, to show the way. Because I mean, I've had some great mentors too that are young, around the same age and older. So, and I think that's key with any like, career path that you're trying to, business, nursing, law, anything.
Thank you. And so how can someone like donate to the Triggs Foundation? The
Well, I recently just signed the paperwork like 2 weeks ago while I was on vacation, so I'll get that up and running pretty soon. So no donations as of yet because we're still setting up the structure and things like that. But it's good to go. The paperwork is being signed.
Okay. And so what springs to mind whenever you hear intentionality?
I think to be successful in anything you do, you have to have some foresight. You have to do things with intention to meet that goal, because you set goals and then you plan, you set goals, and then you execute. And you can't execute if you don't have a plan. And so that's where the intention comes into. So if you're not intentional, and when you're doing something, you're basically, to me, it's just spinning your wheels in place. It's almost like dating. If you're not dating with intention, how do you plan to get married or whatever? So,
Yeah. And so how about hope?
hope. I feel like hope is, even with your best efforts placed, if you believe in a higher power, that's where that comes in. Because at the end of the day, I believe in a higher power. That's what's going to carry this forth if it's in their will. And so for me, I can hope all day that, this goes through, but I have to make sure, in my belief and through my higher power that, if that's what is supposed to be accomplished, that's what's going to be accomplished. But I feel like through hope, that gives you drive to do what you want to do. So for me, you said service. I believe in mentoring, giving back. And my hope is that my mentees will give back for the next generation, or not even the next generation, to the next person, to build us all up. Each one help one.
Thank you. And how about gratitude?
Gratitude, so my biggest saying when I was in residency, it may have been college, no, I was residency, is stay hungry, stay humble. And so for me, gratitude, I respect every patient that comes in here that trusts me to take care of them, to make sure they make it home, to give them the results they want. I think every support person that helps me in the OR, the nurses, the anesthesiologists, to the janitor, to keeping everything clean and sterile. So I feel like gratitude goes a long way, and that also comes into play with bedside manner at the same time too. You have to be thankful for the opportunity to work with this patient. Thankful that they took the time to come down here to see me, even if it is just a consultation and they don't necessarily book for that surgery. So that's what gratitude means to me.
Okay, and I have one last question. So I know people might fly out for consultation. Does that automatically mean that they already, so they have to stay in town until their surgery, or just fly back out? Or...
No, they can fly back out. So I've had people like fly in like in May, and then they'll go ahead, they feel pretty comfortable. They'll put down their deposit, and then they'll have surgery like in December. Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. As long as their labs are up to date and they get their medical clearances from their primary care doctors, we're good to go.
Okay. Well, I see a lot of people have asked us questions that we've already answered in the previous, previously before, but do you have anything else to mention, Dr. Triggs?
No, not really. I just grateful for this opportunity. I've been following this page, I think almost since its inception. And honestly, my page now was, I went viral on this page back in 2018 because I was USF's first Black chief resident.
Oh, wow.
And so they posted it on Rizzo Doctor. And I think at the time, I had the most likes ever on this page. And so it's special to me. So I feel grateful to be here and to be able to chat with you and to share my story.
Thank you so much. We feel even more appreciated and thankful for you actually spending some time and giving so much knowledge. Like, this conversation has been nothing short of inspirational. So I really do appreciate you taking out the time during your busy schedule and surgery week to speak with us.
No problem. Just let me know anytime you need something.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll post this, and everyone, if you haven't been here from the beginning, make sure you watch it back.
All right. Have a great night.
Okay, you too. Bye, Dr. Triggs.
Bye.